But I'll welcome everybody here and give them the warning. As Jim says, I'll give you the profanity warning because we're probably gonna cuss. I'll give you the bean warning because we're probably gonna say some crap that smells real bad and that you don't like to hear. If this is the case, I kindly suggest that you hit pause, stop, rewind, fast forward, whatever strikes your fancy, and move on to something else. Because honestly, Jim and I don't care.
Nah, not really. I love that Jim Carrey mask action there. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. I'm Jim from Knights of the Braille, and with me is Richard from Knights of the Braille.
Woo, yeah. We got to have a cheer sound right there, because
I know.
we're like walking into the room.
Better production, maybe we'd have that. But how are you doing this week, Richard?
Doing good. Got lots of news to get to whenever we get to that section of the podcast because we're so organized here at Knights of the Braille. While the Discord looks all nice and prim and proper, the podcast is all up.
That's true, man. But on that note, with the professionalism, Richard, let's get to the news.
Yeah, breaking news here. But yeah, it's been quite a busy few weeks for me with Knights of the Braille stuff. Stuff that you and I have discussed over email that everybody else doesn't know. So with that, there will be a KWF, which is the Knights Wrestling Federation.
Yes.
I have talked to the developer of Worldwide Wrestling, and he's a busy guy as well. So as soon as he gets a chance, he's actually going to convert Worldwide Wrestling. That is quite a mouthful, especially for a Southern with like thick cheeks and all. But he's going to convert it for us for free.
What a beautiful man.
Yes. And unless my memory is mistaken, which I've had a lot of head trauma, so it could be, he is going to give us a free copy as well.
That is wonderful.
And he is extremely interested in, making future productions of it accessible for not only people with sight, but with people with disabilities as well, both vision impairments as far as being, straight up blind and dyslexic. In other updating news, I, as Jim does as well, searches on Drive-Thru RPG, great website,
yes,
shameless
mate.
plug there. Was searching up for, just different games to look and see before I got as busy as I did with conversions, and came across one called World of Legends. What it appears to me to be is kind of a cross between Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder. I've never looked at Pathfinder, but from hearing people talk, it seems to be more number crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this appears to be. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is because I haven't had time to actually read in depth into it. But I have actually verbally talked with the creator of this game. Great person. And they are going to be converting a small part of the core rulebook and sending to me to check out for accessibility purposes. After that, we will either go where he converts it or I, get permission to convert it into a Microsoft Word document. And we will also be given a free copy of this game. And he also stated that in future, productions of both campaigns and source material, things like that, he will make it accessible going forward.
Oh, that is beautiful, man.
Yes.
Excellent work, Richard. Thank you on behalf of all our community and the 5 people listening.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not all, Jim. Guess what else you
Oh
win if you
shit! My face is melting.
what else you get is I have been in contact with a campaign book provider, and I'll be releasing a campaign. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm not actually releasing a campaign book. But they had a game or a campaign that I was extremely interested in called Grim Hollow, which is
Yes, mate.
you've heard about this game.
Ah, yeah. I love vampires. I love dark shit. I'm all over that.
Yes. Well, they sent me a link to a little section of the campaign because at that time they did not have any that was accessible. Any format that was accessible for us. The section that I did read, while it did have some graphics in it, overall accessibility, I would have to give it an 8. To me, I would give it, if it wasn't for the graphics in it, I'd give it a 10, but it's easily navigable, if that is in the word. If it's not, I will be submitting it to Webster's. But it seemed really interesting. I loved what I read, and that took like an hour and a half of my time because I got caught up in reading it.
Yeah.
So, but it is definitely going to be something that I purchase in the future. But there is one last thing, and then I will shut up because I actually do need to take some drink because my mouth is like getting dry.
I've got a million questions for when you're done.
I can do that. I can answer them. Probably wrong, but I can answer them. I guess it was about 3 weeks ago. You sent me a copy of Mothership to edit. I am, like I told you earlier, approximately 50% of the way through. Maybe slightly less, maybe slightly more. Without like counting letter by letter, it's hard to judge that, and I'm not sure exactly how long the sections are, but I have completed roughly 50%, and this game is a lot like Aliens, and I think it's going to be a blast to run. And with that, I'm going to shut up for a second and take a swallow of drink and let you come at me with your questions.
I will fill the void for a moment while you take a drink. Mothership RPG is very cool. It's different to Alien RPG, and they uses percentile dice. So 2d10 to make hundreds. 1d10 is the tens, and 1d10 is the single digits. And so it can be a bit more punishing than Alien. So this is definitely like a mini campaign where you won't expect to survive in the depths of space. And Richard and I are pretty excited to get to play it. And I'm really grateful that Richard's converting it. It's going to be very exciting. Grim Hollow is very cool D&D. I guess you'd call it like an expansion where it changes the rules. It provides additional classes and races and some extra rules for them, makes things a bit darker. And, I think a lot of people are into that grimdark aesthetic. But for their rule book, what format was it in, Richard?
It was in PDF, which sometimes, can give quite a bit of trouble to a screen reader, because they're usually created with a sighted person, in mind. Mm-hmm. But thankfully, the little section that I did read was very readable. I could understand it, and like I said, spent quite a bit of time there, which, I could have been doing other stuff that's, I won't say more important, but that needed to be done, like washing dishes, cleaning up, things like that, like I said, are not as important as reading through something that you've been waiting to read on for like months now, And
do you use JAWS in conjunction with the PDF?
Yes, I do. I do have NVDA downloaded, but I've never installed it. Because I've used JAWS since I lost my sight. So it's what I'm familiar with. It's what I know, and like I told you before, I paid the, $90 for the subscription, and I'm not one that likes to waste money. So, why have it if I'm not going to use it, in other words, if I paid for it?
You're one of those. I've used NVDA to get my JAWS running again.
Yeah, I use Windows not Windows Eyes, Windows
Narrator.
Narrator. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
piece of
it's
crap.
okay. Yeah,
It
yeah.
works enough to get Jaws started back up anyway.
And which PDF reader are you using?
Adobe Acrobat.
Oh, fancy. Yeah, that's what I use as well. It's pretty good, man.
Yeah,
You can
it's free.
put good headings on there as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Microsoft
Um,
Edge is garbage.
it, and to explain a little bit about the editing process, the Adobe will pull it up fine. Parts of it, though, seem to shuffle things around, but I can open it up with Microsoft Edge, and it's like, that makes sense. Now, 10 lines down in the next section, the Microsoft Edge might be like, what the? And trying to figure it out, walk back over to Adobe, and it's like, that makes sense. I don't know what I'm going to do if both sections in it are screwed up. I'll just make something up there, and sign Jim's name. No, I will sign Jesse's name to it, blame him.
The problem I've had with Adobe in terms of the accessibility tool on there is that technically you can use a screen reader to make things accessible, like use the accessibility tools. But in reality, you need some vision to use them, which I find a bit backwards, but whatever. So yeah, you need vision to highlight the text and then determine, is this a body of text? Is it a heading? Which heading is it? Blah, 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 blah. So I think it could be a lot more useful if they would allow screen reader users to properly edit the accessibility of it themselves. You can add headings, but again, in reality, you need some vision to know where's what and what's a heading. I mean, it's not very intuitive, but I mean, it's good, but you need some vision to edit that part of it, which is a pain in the ass.
Which is why I'll also open it up in Microsoft Edge, because I can, use the H key to navigate down to that heading, find the text there that I'm looking for, and then, Alt tab over to the PDF version like on Adobe, and then do a search for it.
So when you're editing, are you editing within Microsoft Word or within Adobe?
Okay. Editing within Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
The Adobe that I have is just to be able to read them. So I prefer Microsoft Word. I prefer WordPad, but kind of old school, and it doesn't always take the formatting that I need. So it's like, well, I guess I'd rather join the 22nd century now, 21st. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that with the Microsoft Word, it's definitely the best option, but then you need to convert it into those other file formats, and it doesn't always convert it correctly, as you say, which is part of the issue. And then the other thing is with these conversions is that I've spoken to publishers about the issue with abbreviations in their work. Like XP is fine, everyone knows what XP is. But when you start throwing other abbreviations in there, and the screen reader's like, blah, 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 blah. So what the fuck am I reading? So I've told them about that as well. There's not just issues with formatting, it's the language you're using within it. And a lot of language references visual cues as well, which is, another issue.
Yeah, and I have a file set aside that is a glossary of terms and abbreviations that I've come across in Mothership. Started off mostly I wanted to know what it was, so I would type it down to try to figure it out. And then once I figured it out, I was like, oh, you're a dumbass, because it made sense then. But I've also created a trying to think how to say this. The visual cues that you're referencing there. I've taken that, and then I'm not sure if the publisher minds or not, but I mean it makes it more accessible for us, and changed the visual cues and described it. Like, whereas it say, well, click on the following arrow key to get to section such and such. Well, I will
Mm.
change that to click on this link to jump down to the such and such section.
Oh, beautiful. And are you just sticking hyperlinks in there to do that?
Yeah, I will whenever I go to compile it all together because I'm doing it in sections. And then I'm going to go through there and hyperlink everything.
That's what I do. I wait till the end of the edit, and then I'm like, now I'm going to hyperlink now that I know I won't fuck it all up.
Yeah. And before I start doing the hyperlink, I'm going to send you a copy. I'm going to send myself like 18 copies, upload it to Google Drive. You go buy like 16 jump drives, so.
Like with I'm dealing with a couple of publishers at the moment that I'm technically not allowed to talk about, but I've just said to them, I'm doing a screen reader friendly version, and I'm just going to change all the abbreviations to the full word because it makes a difference to them. So, and it works better. And most of them have been like, yeah, sure, that's fine. But yeah, the problem as well is, the visual cues working around that and structuring headings as well in a document that hasn't really been designed with the idea of consistent headings as well, because you need consistency within the document for a screen reader user as well. It's very difficult to do that. Like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the rulebook for that is very difficult to keep it fully consistent throughout. So you need to design the game's rulebook with that in mind in the first place, which is, another issue that a lot of them run into. The other thing as well is that they have in there now, which is, I know this isn't correct, and I mean no offense to people with attention deficit disorder, but it's sort of like the low attention span of a reader. They throw bits of information in here or there, tooltip boxes and stuff like this, and it's like, that's no fucking good when you're reading through with a screen reader and suddenly it's like, hey, it's some information. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, thankfully with Mothership, the notes, like tips or whatever, I am putting those under a heading as well. In that particular section, it makes sense where it's at. It explains that. It doesn't have like a description of a ship with the armor of a person. It all seems to flow, and and thankfully as well, I went to school and took some web design classes, so I understand the the purposes of headings and their consistency in laying them out, whether it's on a web page or it's in a document like this, because it groups it. I mean, don't just take like a monkey, feed him some chili and let him throw a pile of crap at the wall, and wherever a bean lands, that's where you put a heading.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I had no idea. And actually, Eric, who runs games on Tuesdays, was a person that educated me like 2 years ago on, hey man, here's how you should properly construct headings. So I get that people don't know that. But yeah, tooltips, if you're going to put tooltips and stuff, have a consistent name for it, then have tooltip and then the names, then people know, oh, this is a tooltip, not just a random cool looking heading that just throws someone off completely because they're like, have I skipped a section here? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. That was 3 hours the other day, because it's like I said, I'm still working on it, 50% done. But I was reading through there, and I was like, it got to 1.6. I think it was the last section in that particular section, and then it jumped down to 3. I'm like, what? So I closed out the document, opened it back up, searched it up. I still have yet to find a 2. Still cannot find a 2.
Oh man.
So, I don't know. And I spent like 3 hours hunting this 2. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to send it to Jim. I'll get everything done. Take notes of like what I can't find.
Jim, you've got some vision. Figure this out.
I don't know if they just misnumbered it whenever they were making it, or if it's all graphics is what's in 2. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
so it's like, And I thought about asking somebody here to look at it, but my roommate, bless his heart, is not very technologically savvy, and
Ah.
would just look at it and be like, I don't know. And I'd be like, hell, I can tell you I don't know myself. But
Well, we do have the Scryer channel on our Discord, Richard, where you can ask a friendly sighted fellow to check it.
this is true, but I'm a stubborn southerner, and if I try to figure it out myself.
Just send it over to me, then I'll have a quick look.
But I figured, once I get through with everything, because it may be that there is not a section 2. I'll know more like whenever, I get done with it, and we'll find out something there. If not, I'll just make up a section 2. This is the area you do not want to go in.
Yeah, these conversions are tough, man, and I'm actually gonna try and figure out some solutions. But with my updates, I don't have much to update. I've got a couple of meetings with publishers and accessibility people in the next couple of weeks to hopefully start moving towards finding solutions to this sort of stuff long term for us. But I mean, right now, I'm still trying to figure it out. The issue that we're facing is that in order to convince a publisher to do this, I mean, you can't unless they have some kind of disposable income that they can put towards goodwill, because they're not going to make their money back through sales of accessible copies. I mean, I tell them that up front, by adding these versions, it's not going to increase your sales significantly to the point where you're going to, double the money you spent on it, but it's goodwill. And again, if they turn around like, hey man, we want to do the right thing, but we're a small publisher, how the fuck are we going to afford to do that? Or we're still growing, so we can't put that kind of money aside. I totally get that. Not a problem. We're not trying to guilt anyone into doing anything, but the issue is then, how do we get accessible versions not quickly but easily? Because with Richard and I converting stuff, like I'm working on Alien RPG right now, as well as fixing up Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and it takes a long time. Like Richard says, like Mothership RPG, the rulebook in PDF format is about 45 pages, but it takes a long time because you have to basically reproduce everything and structure it correctly. It's difficult.
And neither one of us are complaining here at all. No. And it's like I've told the people that I've contacted, I'll do this for free. I don't mind. I just want there to be a version that if somebody out there is blind or visually impaired, that they can get this version and know that, hey, this is going to be accessible. Is it frustrating? Is it a headache? Yeah, it is. Or in the words of Stone Cold, Steve Austin, you damn right. But and I've talked with Jim about this. I love doing this stuff. It's like a passion of mine. One, I'm learning. Two, I'm helping at least Jim and myself and the Knights. And the other thing is that maybe it increases their sales 1 or 2. Maybe somebody else out there is like, oh, this game looks fun, but I wish I could. Oh, wait, I can play it. They do have an accessible version.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal. Jim and I neither one will ever live long enough to convert every different RPG out there. But what we can do is live long enough to convert the ones that we can get to.
I tell you what, as well, is that there's 2 things there. Is that, like, the first one is, we don't mind doing this at all. Do we wish we didn't have to? Yeah, absolutely. We wish we could just pick up the game and everyone can join in. But we're no longer running games on. Well, I'm not running games on our Discord that everyone can't participate in. I'm sort of making that a point now. But the issue that I face is that, convincing these publishers to do it, and not convincing them by twisting their arm, but just like, hey man, this would be really nice. But as Richard says, that extra sale could lead to more potentially. group that has one blind friend, like I know Richard, you're in a sighted group, right?
Yeah.
Like in your local area. If they found out that there's a game that's fully accessible that Richard can join in, I guarantee all those people would be like, this publisher's amazing. We're going to buy all their shit.
In fact, they have said pretty much that line. If there is one out there that I want to play and is accessible to me, let them know, and we'll learn it.
Yeah, they take that publisher's content as better than other publishers because they seemingly have a conscience, and I don't mean a conscience by
they have a care factor.
Yeah, a lot of people nowadays feel that all they need to do is just say that they believe this or they do that, and therefore they're a good person. No, you need to speak with your actions.
You were laughing at me earlier about the Southernisms. We have another one where that is concerned. Don't just say it, don't just spray it, but actually do it. I mean, but that's it. It's the care factor. Just like your local friends care about you more so than say, somebody else that you don't know. The local group is the same way. Like, hey, if you want to play this and you got a version so you can understand the rules and read it, by all means, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, and the thing that leads on to is that although sales will not increase for a publisher, when those same people are in conversation and that publisher's name comes up, they'll mention to people, oh, that publisher's amazing. Our mate Richard is blind and requires accessible books. All their stuff is accessible. They'll be like, oh, that's amazing. What nice people. And will likely look into it because, they're happy about giving their money to a company that takes people into consideration.
Right. I mean, I will spend my money on something that is, accessible or that like people care about, like these publishers that we're talking about, more so than I will, spend money on something it may be accessible.
Yeah, no. And there's not really any stamp at the moment for like AODA or anything like that in terms of rule books. So you're essentially gambling when you're on Drive-Thru-RPG.
Yeah. And I'm not sure about you, Jim, but I have a big time problem with that. This game sounds really cool. It's $24.95. I think I'd love to play that, but it may not be accessible. And if I pay the $25 and get it, and it's not accessible, I'm kind of a pissed off Southerner right then, and I'm liable to send an email to the publisher if I can find them. I got a problem with this.
I can get by with magnification now, but in 10 years, that's not going to be the case. So, part of the reason that I'm doing this is because I want that stuff in place so that I can always continue to enjoy these games and have people in the blind community come in. Because there's, this will sound cheesy as fuck, but because I work for a charity for the blind, I consider the blind community, they're my family, and I extend that to Knights of the Braille and anyone that comes into our groups. It's like a little family, like everyone involved. Like I really like everyone that I played in groups with in Knights of the Braille, and I care about them and I really want them to be able to engage with any of the games out there. So it's important to me, and I reached a point late last year where I was like, I don't have anything against the publishers that aren't taking that extra effort to create accessible versions, but I'm not going to play their games anymore.
Exactly. I'm not going to spend. I'll pay $15 for one that's accessible as opposed to paying $5 for yours that's not.
Yeah.
If I'm not important to you, then my money's not important to you either.
But that's the thing is, again, it is minute to them. Us, that's like us turning around to Apple and being like, "You're not getting my $2." Steve Jobs ghost, and they're like, "We don't really give a fuck." So,
but I mean, it's not going to make or break them either way, whether we buy it or we don't. But the goodwill, I don't think you can put an amount on.
Yeah, we'll put our energy into promoting the people that we feel supported by rather than the people that don't. And, again, they don't have to. That's absolutely up to them. You know, I hold no ill will towards them, and I completely understand the business decision not to support us. You know, I want to add though, I've had absolutely no publishers be rude to me, bar one. And, you know, all of them have been great. And even when there's been rejections on accessibility, I've said, absolutely, I totally understand that. Not a problem.
Yeah. You know, they have their reasons and their goals and all, just like we do too.
Yeah. And to anyone listening, I will not publicly announce the publisher that was rude, but I will tell Richard after this podcast.
I hope it's nobody that I've said were really good.
It's not. No, don't worry. You'll probably be kind of shocked. But yeah, at the moment, work for Richard is pretty hectic in terms of a lot of RPG conversions, but it's going to lead to a lot of cool content on here. I'm really excited for the play-by-post wrestling tournament that we could potentially have.
Oh yes, the KWF. You know.
Yes, mate.
And you already know what the quote unquote PP pay-per-view is going to be called, right?
What's that?
Braille-mania. That's right.
Braille-mania, yes, mate.
And I have to do Braille-mania because that's how Jaws reads it, you know. Then it also goes along with like WrestleMania, you know, like Braille-mania. Yeah, see what I was doing there? I made a witticism, I think. I'm not sure, but I'm really excited about that, and you know, that's probably going to be the next one that I work on. You know, because I do have two different wrestling ones. One that I did purchase from Drive Through RPG, which oddly enough was fairly accessible. Enough so that I could work around and figure it out. But unfortunately, that publisher is obviously no longer in business, as it's been like a month since I emailed them and no contact back. But you know, that's understandable too. But I will, you know, work on that, and you know, let's see if we can't have us a Braille-mania and crown me. I mean, crown whoever wins the tournament. You know, the Braille champion or something.
Although it's called Braille-mania, the wrestlers will be sighted. Otherwise, that'd be a very long match of, you know, doing a flying elbow and just whacking into the canvas.
Speaking of that, you know that Jesse and I used to do the fantasy wrestling. I actually had a character that was blind that I, you know, used. He actually won a championship belt because the guy that he was quote unquote wrestling in the ring tripped and he accidentally headbutted him in the temple and knocked him out and fell on top of him and won the belt.
You could have a blind wrestler called the Grappler, and it's like as soon as he gets hold of you, it's like you're fucked.
Yes. But I'm really looking forward to that too, and I know I've talked to several people who are excited about that.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think that'd be a blast. Like, it's the cool thing about that is that it's really light-hearted and kind of campy, so you don't take it too seriously.
Yeah. And my thoughts right now is to you know, get the post up, you know, determine who the winner is, and then I will do a recap, kind of like I'm, you know, good old JR, except I'll be like dumb old Richard or something. You know, be the name and do like a podcast of like a results or calling the action. That's my thoughts. I'll have to see how much actual work has to go into that.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. But yeah, you'd have to see how long the matches last in terms of move counts, I guess.
Right. Because as Jim knows, my plate is kind of full. I mean, I am a fat guy and I do go to buffets, but the plate that I have right now is like rolling over and stuff is falling off of it. Kind of full.
Yeah, this isn't a Red Lobster all you can eat. This is a Las Vegas buffet that he currently has in front of him.
Oh, don't talk to me about Red Lobster and endless shrimp. I have been there. Oh, they asked me to leave.
The last time, actually, the last time I went to Vegas, I had the stomach flu and I couldn't eat anything.
No, and I've heard they've closed those buffets down.
Oh, there's no way that shit's going to be open in future after coronavirus. Although saying that, fucking no one in the States is wearing goddamn masks. They're just walking around doing whatever.
Crazy though.
So,
I don't know of a buffet near me that is closed. I mean, you can go in there and eat. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's some people that were in my old Sunday group. All the restaurants around them were still open.
Yeah. I mean, I love buffets. My waistline don't, but I do. But yeah, I mean, I still wear a mask whenever I go into grocery shop, not because I have it, but because I don't know what these other people have. And I can stick my tongue out at them and they have no idea.
As you were saying earlier before the podcast, like, you worry about your family as well. And like, I work with the public, a few days a week when I'm not working from home. And, I'm double masking it now because of this new virus, because I don't know what it does. And I certainly don't want to give it to my parents, because me and my fiance are living with them at the moment.
Right. I mean, you got to think about other people. Maybe not yourself necessarily, but other people. And that's my concern.
As soon as we've moved into our new place in a year, I'll be throwing that mask off. I'll be licking lampposts. So, just doing whatever.
Licking doorknobs. Walking around putting little A1 or Heinz 57 sauce on the doorknob. I can just see them now. But yeah, just you got to look out for other people. At least I do, and it sounds to me that is what you do as well. Jesse, though, he don't care.
No, he don't care about anyone.
Never. We haven't made fun of him in a while, so
So it's time. That's a new segment. Make fun of Jesse. In saying that, on a personal note, with the old coronavirus, we're trying to figure out how to get friggin' married this year, and it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I know a friend of mine and his fiance are going to get married next year.
Jesse boy.
No, actually another friend that lives here near me. I don't know about Jesse. I don't know how long his fiance is going to put up with him. But it's they decided to move it back till next year, hoping that some of this will have died down or vaccines will be given out. And,
that's the thing. We've booked us for this September, but we might have to push it till next year. But even just like we're doing a civil ceremony as well, just to officially get married, because we're doing our party and ceremony stuff outside of town, like out in the middle of nowhere. So we're getting officially married in the city, but we got to book somewhere where we can go and do that safely, I guess.
I thought Canada was out in the middle of nowhere.
It is, man. The place we're getting married is like on a lake with no one around. So if she says no, I'll just actually. I proposed to her on a small island in the middle of a lake in the middle of nowhere. We headed out in a canoe and we made our way to a tiny island, just big enough for the two of us, and that's where I proposed, man. Good old romantic Jim.
Oh, did you get down on one knee and?
I did, yeah. And if she'd have said no, I would have left her. Just got back in the canoe, just fucked off.
Well, I do have a fun story about that. But I do want to say congratulations to y'all, and I don't know how she puts up with you either. But
I know, yeah.
I was at a concert, and this guy, it was a George Jones concert. Got George Jones to ask his girlfriend to marry him in front of, I would guess, probably 8,000 or more people. And he said he wants to know if he'll marry him. And he said, "What? I can't hear you." So he held down the microphone to her, got her to come up there. She says, "No." She said no.
Shit. That is a nightmare.
And this is my dad's quote. Oh, I loved it. That bitch be walking home if it was me.
Oh my god. That's bad.
Yeah, it was. Mama just looked at it. Oh, that wasn't a pretty conversation on the way home.
Yeah, she's like, you're going to be walking home, bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, yeah, that's what it was. But that has been one of the funniest things in my life. You saying no, or she said no, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Better
Yeah.
luck next time.
But back to the Knights of the Braille stuff, because I do have to give Jesse props on something. Write it down.
Oh.
He has done extremely well in running the Lost Mine of Fendivar. Doing really, really good. It makes me proud, that he's come this far, through Eric and your campaign, and the one that I run, that he's gotten the confidence up enough to run one himself. So he's
That's
doing great.
awesome.
Not to mention
That's
he puts up
awesome,
with
man.
me and Jim Bob Johansson.
Oh,
So
mate, yeah, I can only imagine that character. But how are you finding the Lost Mines of Fandelver? I know you're running the Star Wars equivalent, but how's the original adventure? Because a lot of people have recommended that as, first go-to for D&D.
I've played it before. That's what the local session played. But the one that I played in my local session was with and I'm not talking bad about Jesse here, because I mean I will, but I'm not. It was a lot more experienced DM, like from, I know 3.5, but I think 3 as well. And he changed a lot of stuff. So it's like I played it before in name, with like the highlights to the campaign, but at the same time I haven't played it except for, the highlights of things that you exactly have to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you feel it's a good introduction adventure for like a
Oh,
new
yeah.
DM, new player? Yeah.
Oh yeah. In fact, I recommended it to Jesse and to anybody that is looking at running a campaign, whether you want to do homebrew or not. If you want to run like pre-written campaigns, definitely go with Lost Mine. Or there's another one out there that I haven't played called Dragon of Ice Fire Peak.
Yeah, I've heard of
Try
that one.
saying that when you're a redneck. But yeah, either one of those, personally, I would recommend though Lost Mine. Don't do like me and immediately jump into Curse of Strahd, because that will blow your mind.
That is a heavy campaign, both in topic and content.
Yeah, yes, and I jumped into it. It was fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't recommend that anybody can do it. In fact, a lot of people say, "Oh, there's no way you can run Curse of Strahd as your first written campaign." Bullshit, I did. You just have to put in a little bit more effort.
I think when I come back to D&D after Warhammer, I'm going to do Lost Mines of Fandelver running into Icewind Dale. So something like that, so that I can have a nice base start again to start building up, because this homebrew stuff is tough, man.
It's a lot of work.
It's so much work. I'm going to come back and finish my Sunday campaigns in a year and a half, but once I finished it, I don't think I'll do homebrew for a while.
It's a lot of work. I mean, I've talked to you about it. I've talked to my local DM about it, and one of our other players who DMs from time to time. And they say, man, it's a lot of work if you want it to come off good. If you don't give a shit, then just make it up as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing, though. I found that when I do put the prep work in for games, I get a lot out of it, and I find it easier to do prep work on pre-written adventures, because the base is there, and then building on top of that is pretty easy once you know your players. Whereas creating it from scratch is such a fucking headache sometimes.
It is. Maybe that's why I prefer the pre-written. If I don't have time to take down the notes, I've at least like read ahead a little bit, so it's like I can somewhat know what's going on, know what to do. And I mean, in hell, Jim, you have it pulled up on your internet browser, and you can search it up right there. That's what's awesome about it.
I think like my biggest pet peeve is these people that turn around and go, I didn't do any prep work and I just homebrew it and make it up as I go along. I'm like, you are not respecting your players by not doing any prep, because when players show up to my table and they haven't prepared for the session, it annoys me. I get annoyed. If you haven't sorted your fucking character out and you're showing up to my session, what the fuck are you doing? I've put 3 to 6 hours into prepping, sometimes longer, and you're just showing up and not giving a fuck. Like, get the hell out of here. And these people that do it back to their players by saying, I don't prepare as a DM for the sessions, you're an arsehole. You're not respecting your players' time. And it's very apparent when you're making it up. In your mind, you might think like, oh, I'm amazing. I can just throw it together, everything on the spot. And it's like, okay, if you've had 30 years of experience like Matthew, Blind Fury from my Discord, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you want to make it up on the fly, I get that. But when you've been playing for 2 fucking years and then you're telling me that you're making up as you're going along, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's another Southernism. Kiss my ass. It's disrespectful to everybody. I mean, to me, I agree with you. To your players, to yourself, to the game, and if you're recording it, and putting it up on a podcast, it's disrespectful to your listeners.
Absolutely.
I mean, have some respect at least for your players. And I'm not saying take like a novel full of notes, but something is nice. I've gone in, I think, 2 sessions where I didn't have notes, and I could tell. I don't know that the players could tell, but I mean, it's just been one of them hellacious weeks that, like never happened in real life,
Yeah.
But I mean, they still had fun because I straight up told them before started, look, I haven't had a chance to take notes, but we're going to go through with this if you want to. And they've played in my other sessions and know that I respect them enough that I'm going to tell them the truth. And they've had enough fun and that they trust me enough to say, okay, we'll roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about people. So in terms of players, I'm not talking about you don't have time to prep for a few sessions. If the player is prepping most of the time and then that session or this session they haven't, that's fine. But it's when it's every week they're completely unprepared, it gets frustrating. And the DM showing up saying, hey man, I haven't prepared, like that's fine, at least everyone can have fun. And then the other thing is that, I'm not talking about making mistakes and improvisation. That's going to happen. You have to learn from your mistakes. I'm saying doing 0 prep in terms of story, NPCs, events. If you've done absolutely nothing every week, that's pretty awful. And in terms of the improvisation, I still make a lot of mistakes. But one thing I have learned is that if in my head someone proposes something and I really don't know how to respond, I'll just say to them, hey, look, man, I have to think about that. So I'm going to either get back to you in a minute, or if I think it's bigger than that, I'll say, I'll have an answer for you next week.
Right. And I've come across that with rules, well, what do you think about this? I'm not really sure. We'll roll with it this way this week, and I will let you know next week.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment in Warhammer, because I'm not familiar with it. So if someone says, I think it's done this way, I'll just say, okay, we'll do it that way, and we'll look it up at the end.
Right. That to me is being a respectful player as well as being a respectful, GM.
Absolutely.
But I mean, that's but back to Jesse. I mean, he's doing a great job. Really, really super proud of him. And I'm not sure if you've been reading it or not, but I have been posting Jim Bob's diary, which is a recap of the sessions, on the Discord. I might can send you the link, and you can put them up on the website if you want to. But I've been posting them to the
absolutely.
the Not to the Braille Facebook group. And if you're on Facebook and you're not part of the group, shame on you. If you are part of the group, then hey, glad to have you. But everybody seems to really, really enjoy it, because I talk like I'm in his voice, I get into the character, writing like, I hope you don't read this. I hope nobody else reads this here diary, because this is my personal thoughts, you know. It's a lot of fun, and like I said, I can send you the links if you want them.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's basically just a recap of the sessions for, like, if people get behind, it's a lot quicker to read them and catch up than it is to try to listen to 6 or 7 podcasts.
Yeah, man. And insane. Jesse's doing a great job beginning his new Lost Minds Fandelver. I ran my first Warhammer Fantasy roleplay session the other week. I got my second one today. I really enjoyed the first session. I'm running the Enemy Within campaign, which is this campaign that spans 5 books, and there's 5 companion books, and there's multiple books. There's like 20 fucking books around this thing. But it's essentially, I know, it's essentially 5 books long, but you can sort of power through it if you stick to the story.
Yeah.
But, the first session went really well. Great party. It seemed like they're going to gel pretty well, and I really enjoy the rules. It focuses heavily on the role play aspects, not so much on the combat, which people probably don't expect from Warhammer. But I'm really enjoying it, man. The combat that we did do for melee combat is really interesting. That you roll opposed melee attacks, so you're competing with your skill of melee, and whoever comes out better either manages to hit the other person or block and gains advantage over the situation. So it's really interesting. Yeah, it's like a back and forth in combat, and as it builds a little more strategy into it, which I'm really enjoying. So curious how that works out. Seems like a pretty brutal system in some ways. So we'll see what happens, man.
Oh, that's one that you tried to get me in repeatedly, and I'm like, no, Jim. Sometimes you have to say no, but I want so bad to say yes.
I want everyone to play, man. Yeah, but it's tough because as well, like, the 2 caveats were that 1, I wanted to play on Sundays, and 2, I wanted to play every 2 weeks. So, not everyone's for that, right?
Yeah, and even though I'm that person that never prepares their character, I saw you looking at me. I saw you whenever you were saying that. But yeah, it sounded like it was a lot of fun. Are you recording it too, or?
Yeah, so I'm recording it. I'm going to put probably about 10 episodes on the podcast feed eventually. I'll just do a mini series of 10 episodes so people can get a feel for it. Yeah. But I put the first session or first half of the first session up on YouTube. People can check it out. I'm going to put the second session up in the next week or so. But yeah, eventually once I've edited 10 episodes worth, I'll start posting them on the podcast feed. But I probably won't do more than 10 sessions because, people generally lose interest after 5 sessions of our games.
That's why nobody listens to us. That or we're just not interested, period, huh?
Because we're not interested, I think. We do get quite a few listeners to our podcast of you and I, more so than our games.
Really? So evidently we are interesting to at least some people. That I know what it is. They've gotten drunk and actually typed in something else. So that's how. It's okay. We can be drunk entertainment too.
So actually, while we're talking about things in terms of views and interests and stuff like that, the YouTube channel, I started uploading our games on there. So I put up like 1 episode of each game just to see how they're doing. Mm-hmm. And the one that's gotten the most interest is Wrath and Glory. People seem to be
Really?
interested in Raspberry for some reason. Yeah, I don't know why.
You ain't got to
Yeah.
puff out your chest like that. I mean, we understand that you run it and it's cool.
I think
I'm gonna describe y'all. Jim's like sitting there with his chest all bowed out, like, yeah, look at me. I
well,
see
the
how it
reason
is.
that it is because our other games are Dungeons and Dragons, and there
Yeah,
are a million D&D podcasts out there, right?
yeah, at least,
Yeah, it's very oversaturated.
which is why I want to do run yet another game, the mothership whenever it comes around. Whenever I get through with that, I want to run like like a mini campaign and see how it goes because I love science
Yeah,
fiction stuff.
absolutely, man. And the thing is, as well, is that our podcasts aren't, professional entertainment to bring in views. They're more so there just so like other blind and visually impaired folks can see how we run games. I know we had someone come in the Discord the other week and say, "Hey guys, I listened to your podcast feed, and that made me want to join in."
Really?
Yeah,
What's wrong with them?
I don't know, man. We'll find out. If they're
I,
with Knights of the Braille, then there's something wrong with them.
exactly. Especially if they liked us. If they liked us, then we know.
I'm pretty sure it's one of your games as well, so it must be really, really.
Oh, sorry. I got to remind myself not to bow out my chest. Like, yeah, look at me. Strut around like a rooster in the yard right there, boy. I tell you.
So
Oh,
before we go today, Richard, do you have any cool audiobooks that you've been listening to?
well, as you know, I'm hung up on the Dread stuff right now. I did just finish I'm a Stephen King fan as well. If anybody's, not heard of him. And he had one out that's a group of, it's at least 4 novellas, maybe 5, but I know of 4, called If It Bleeds. As you all know, I like horror stuff. I like dark stuff. Really, really good collection. Um, Downloaded it from Bard because I mean I love Stephen King, but it also had a novella in there from one of my favorite characters that he continually does or uses. But the last novella in the book was called The Rat, and I thought, huh. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who may want to read it, but it really made you think. It creeped me out, is what it did. So if you can do that, hey, you're good.
Oh, excellent, man. I have to read more Stephen King. I've only read a few books. Actually, I read The Shining, a few others, but one that I couldn't get into was The Stand.
Oh, it's really, really long.
Yeah.
I liked it only because I like Stephen King, but I've only read it the one time. I'll never read it a second time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because of the length. And, it also had, again, another one of my favorite repeating characters that Stephen King uses, Randall Flagg, in the book. And I really like him because he's dark and demented and basically evil. Of course, that's why I like him. And he repeats a lot. But I would give you a suggestion of a Stephen King book to read. Since you like medieval fantasy type stuff.
Yeah, man. What gave it
Read
away?
well, the T-shirt that you're wearing that says "I'm a D&D and fantasy role playing geek." The Eyes of the Dragon.
Oh, okay.
It's really good. It's one of my more favorite ones by Stephen King. I've read it like 2 or 3 times. I think you'd enjoy it.
Excellent. I'll check that out. I'll add that to my ever-growing list of audiobooks.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. I was out on Audible before we started recording and finding tons of trilogies to add to my Audible wish list that will probably get up to like thousands and thousands. But what about you, Jim? Have you read any good books and got any recommendations?
I'm actually about to start the Dresden Files, thanks to you and Jake. I'm finally getting on it. I know that you've bigged it up in the past, and I never got on. So I've used up all my Audible credits. So I gotta start reading these. I hadn't read in a few weeks, to be honest. I said the other week I was just listening to podcasts just to turn my brain off.
Yes.
I listened to video game ones and a few kind of political ones. Or as I said, I'm not into politics at all. But
No.
yeah, just listen to stuff, turn my brain off. I'm going to get back into audiobooks this week, starting with the Dresden Files.
Oh, you make me want to read them again, just so we can talk about them.
Well, I'm excited to read it, but yeah, it's just I'm worried I'm going to get sucked into it and I'm going to read them all.
Oh yeah, they're like a vacuum cleaner because they will suck you in. Oh man. Or I'll repeat that line off of the podcast. I don't want to.
Yeah, that's getting a bit risque.
But yeah, I think that's all the information and news that I have for this week.
That's wonderful, man. We'll be back next week, maybe just the two of us, but we are lining up some podcast guests. So we're going to have podcast guests one week, and then it'll be me and Richard the next. So hopefully for the next few months, we'll have 2 podcast guests every month.
Works for me. And if that's all, how about we hear them next week, Jim?
Sounds good.